Ever feel like you're drowning in a sea of self-help advice, but you're still not living your ultimate life?
Yeah, I think we've all been there.
Well, you're not alone.
Right.
Today, we're diving into The Seven Mindsets by Scott Schickler and Jeff Waller
Oh, I like those guys.
to figure out why that is.
You know what's so refreshing about their approach? They didn't just interview CEOs and celebrities. They looked at successful people throughout history from all walks of life.
Okay, so what'd they find? What's the secret sauce?
It all boils down to mindsets.
Okay.
They discovered that incredibly successful people, from Oprah to Richard Branson, share 7 core ways of thinking.
Okay.
It's not about demographics or luck. It's about how you see the world.
That's actually a huge relief to hear. So many self-help books make it seem like you need to be born under a lucky star or something.
Exactly. And the really interesting part is that these mindsets operate almost like software running in the background
Right.
and shaping your decisions even when you're not aware of it.
Yeah. That makes so much sense. It's like those times when you just can't shake a feeling, even if you don't know why you feel that way.
Right.
But here's the kicker. They say, we've been taught counter mindsets that actually hold us back. You know those little sayings we hear growing up?
Oh, yeah.
Like, money doesn't grow on trees.
And just like that, a scarcity mindset takes root.
Right. Or, curiosity killed the cat. Imagine if Einstein had listened to that one.
It highlights how these seemingly harmless phrases can shape our beliefs and behaviors in really profound ways.
Right.
But before we, unpack each of the 7 mindsets, it's important to grasp just how powerful the subconscious mind really is.
Yeah.
We're not just talking about some dusty attic in our brains, right?
Prime real estate, man.
Exactly. Think of it like this. Your conscious mind is like the keyboard.
Yeah.
You make choices, you type in commands. But the subconscious, that's the software running the entire show.
Yeah.
And it's estimated to be 10 million times more powerful than your conscious thoughts.
Wow. No wonder it feels so hard to break those, deeply ingrained habits sometimes.
Right.
But it's also empowering, right?
Absolutely.
Because if we can tap into that power, imagine what we could achieve.
Absolutely. And that's the beauty of these 7 mindsets.
Okay.
They provide a roadmap for rewiring your subconscious mind for success. So, are you ready to dive into the first one?
Let's do it. Hit me with mindset number 1.
It's a game changer. Everything is possible.
Okay, I like where this is going already, but how do they back that up?
Well, they challenge the scarcity mindset that holds so many people back. Think about it this way. Our senses, sight, smell, touch, they only allow us to experience about 4% of what actually exists.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah,
Only 4%?
that's right. The other 96% is what scientists call dark matter. We can't even perceive it with our current senses.
That's mind-blowing. So we're constantly bombarded with these messages of limitation, but in reality, we're only tapping into a tiny fraction of what's possible.
Precisely. And that's why it's so important to challenge our current thinking. Think about it. Throughout history, every groundbreaking discovery, every incredible invention came from someone who dared to question the status quo.
Right. I mean, people used to think that the world was flat.
Exactly. And even scientific facts are constantly
Yeah.
evolving. Imagine what we might discover if we could just expand our perception of what's possible.
Okay, that's kind of blowing my mind. But how do we actually do that? How do we shift from a scarcity mindset to one where anything feels possible?
Well, they talk about the power of the imagination.
Okay.
They argue that if you can't even conceive of something as a possibility, you'll never take the first step toward making it a reality.
So we need to start dreaming bigger.
Exactly. They share that great anecdote about Jim Carrey. Remember when he was a struggling comedian?
Oh, yeah, before he hit it big.
He wrote himself a check for $10 million
Oh, wow.
for acting services rendered, dated it 10 years in the future, and carried it around in his wallet.
And then, what do you know? He ends up starring in Dumb and Dumber and earns $10 million.
Right. Whether you believe it was the universe conspiring or simply the power of unwavering belief, it highlights the importance of visualizing your goals as if they've already happened.
Wow.
What would it feel like if you already achieved your biggest goal?
I love that. So instead of focusing on all the reasons why something might not work, we need to focus on what it would look and feel like if it did work. But how do we start putting that into practice?
They break it down into 4 key steps.
All right.
First, acknowledge your current reality. Where are you starting from? What are your beliefs about what's possible for you?
Okay, so no judgment, just taking stock of where we're at. Then what?
Then comes the exciting part. Challenge those beliefs.
Okay.
Why do you believe what you believe? What evidence supports those beliefs?
It's like holding our beliefs up to a mirror and seeing if they're truly serving us or if they're just like outdated hand-me-downs from our upbringing. Okay, so we've acknowledged our reality, challenged our limiting beliefs. What's next? This is where it gets really interesting, right?
This is where you unleash your imagination.
Okay.
What would your life look like if anything were possible? What would you do? What kind of impact would you have? Don't censor yourself. Just let your imagination run wild.
So it's not just about like vaguely wishing for things to be different. They're talking about like really vividly picturing your ideal life, feeling the emotions as if it's already happening.
Exactly. Because when you can see it and feel it that vividly, you're much more likely to take action to make it a reality.
Okay, I'm picking up what you're putting down. Speaking of action, that's the crucial next step, right? We can't just sit around daydreaming about our ultimate life. We actually have to do something about it.
You got it. Schickler and Waller call it putting your imagination into action. And they say it's the definition of creativity.
So it's about bridging that gap between imagination and reality.
Precisely. So ask yourself, what's one small step you can take today, no matter how small, to move closer to that vision you just created?
I love that they emphasize small steps because it makes the whole process feel so much less overwhelming. Okay, so we've covered the first mindset, everything is possible. What's next on this roadmap to our ultimate life?
It's time to tap into the power of passion first.
Now you're speaking my language. Okay, we're back and ready to unpack mindset number 2, passion first.
Yeah,
I've got to say, this one really resonates with me. It's so easy to get caught up in the shoulds and the have-tos of life
right.
and lose sight of what really lights us up.
Absolutely. And Schickler and Waller ask a really thought-provoking question.
Yeah.
If money were no object, what would you do for free?
Ooh, that is a good one.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how quickly our true passions bubble to the surface when we
Right.
remove those like perceived limitations of money.
It's like that pressure valve releases, and suddenly you're remembering dreams you'd completely forgotten about. But it's important to note, it's not just about finding something you enjoy. They emphasize the importance of identifying your unique genius.
Ah, that sweet spot where your passions and your natural talents intersect.
Exactly. Where what you love to do aligns with what you're naturally good at.
Go.
They tell this fascinating story about Richard Branson,
The Virgin Airlines guy.
the one and only. He started over 400 companies.
Whoa, that's a lot of businesses.
Right. And when asked what he would do differently if he could go back in time, Branson said he would have dreamed bigger and started sooner.
Think about that for a second. A self-made billionaire wishing he dreamed bigger. It really makes you wonder what limiting beliefs we're holding on to
Uh-huh.
without even realizing it.
They argue that the money-first mindset can actually be a recipe for unhappiness.
It's funny how that works. It's like that old saying, money can't buy happiness.
Right. They interviewed Jack Canfield, co-author of Chicken Soup for the Soul. He did a survey of incredibly successful people
Yeah.
and found that most of them wish they had followed their passions more, even if it meant making less money.
It's a powerful reminder that when you're truly passionate about what you do, the money often follows. But even more importantly, you find joy and fulfillment in the journey itself,
Right.
not just the destination. So how do we tap into this passion-first mindset? Where do we even begin?
They offer some concrete steps. First, identify those activities that make your heart sing.
Okay.
What are you drawn to? What makes you lose track of time?
We're talking about reigniting that inner spark we all had as kids.
Exactly. Next, explore how those passions connect with your natural talents. What are you good at? What comes easily to you?
So we're looking for that beautiful intersection between our heart's desires and our natural abilities.
And once you start to see those connections, don't be afraid to dream big. Imagine combining your passions with your talents. What becomes possible?
I love that they emphasize aligning your passions with a purpose larger than yourself.
Yes.
Because it's not just about us, right? It's about using our gifts to make a positive impact on the world.
Exactly. It's about finding that sweet spot where your work not only brings you joy, but also makes a difference. Like Blake Mycoskie, the founder of Tomamis Shoes.
Oh, yeah. They donate a pair of shoes for every pair purchased.
He combined his passion for travel and helping others to create a business that gives back.
Yeah.
Okay, we've talked about embracing possibility and leading with passion.
Right.
What's the third mindset we should be cultivating?
Let's hear it. What's next on our list?
The third mindset is we are connected, challenging the idea that we have to achieve everything on our own.
This is a big one, especially in today's world. We're constantly bombarded with these messages of like being your own boss, going it alone, hustle harder.
Right.
It's almost like we've forgotten the power of community and collaboration.
Exactly. They remind us how interconnected we truly are.
Okay.
Think about things like quantum entanglement or the DNA phantom effect.
Okay, those sound a little out there. What did those even mean?
They suggest a level of connection beyond our typical understanding. But on a more relatable level, think about a time you achieved something great as a team.
You mean like that project at work where everyone just clicked and we knocked it out of the park?
Exactly. Or think about how a supportive friend can make all the difference when you're going through a tough time.
Okay, so they're saying that we're not meant to do this thing called life alone.
Right.
We're stronger, more resilient, and ultimately more successful when we embrace connection and collaboration. But how do we actually apply that in our lives?
Well, they highlight Tiger Woods as an example. You wouldn't think of him in this context, would you?
The ultimate competitor. Not really.
Exactly. But they share a story about a tournament where his biggest rival at the time, Padre Harrington, was penalized for slow play.
Okay.
Woods ended up winning, but he wasn't happy about
He
it
wasn't. Why not?
because the penalty robbed him of the chance to compete against Harrington at his best. Woods wanted that challenge, that connection, that opportunity to push himself further.
Wow. That's such a different perspective. It's like he recognized that even in competition, there's this underlying connection,
Right.
this mutual respect and desire to like bring out the best in each other.
It speaks volumes about the importance of choosing empowering relationships. The people we surround ourselves with have a profound impact on our lives.
It's like that Jim Rohn quote, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
They encourage us to be intentional about cultivating relationships with people who inspire us, who support us, and who challenge us to grow. They call it building your dream team for life.
Okay, so we've got our dream team. What else does the we're connected mindset look like in action?
They also highlight the importance of embracing competition.
Wait, really? I thought they were all about collaboration.
They're not saying competition is bad, they're saying it's about shifting our perspective,
Oh.
viewing it as an opportunity for growth rather than a threat.
So instead of trying to avoid competition, we should like lean into it. How do we do that?
They use the example of Abraham Lincoln. After a particularly brutal election, he appointed his biggest rivals to his cabinet.
Wow, talk about taking the high road. I'm not sure I could be that forgiving.
Right, but Lincoln understood that surrounding himself with people who held different viewpoints would make him a better leader.
Okay, so competition can push us to be better.
Right.
But isn't there a risk of getting stuck in constant comparison?
That's where the next piece comes in, relishing diversity. And I love that they use the word relish.
Yeah.
It's about approaching diversity with a sense of curiosity and excitement, not fear or judgment.
Because when we surround ourselves with people who are just like us, we end up in an echo chamber, never exposed to new ideas or different ways of thinking.
Right. This mindset challenges us to step outside of our comfort zones and actively seek out diverse perspectives.
It's about recognizing that everyone has something valuable to teach us, even if we don't always agree with them. But how do we actually find these like diverse voices and perspectives?
They challenge us to look beyond our usual circles, attend events outside your normal interests, engage in conversations with people from different backgrounds, even just like reading books or watching documentaries that challenge your worldview.
It's about actively seeking out those opportunities for growth and expansion.
Right.
Okay, so we're embracing competition, relishing diversity. What's the final piece of this we are connected puzzle?
They call it seeking synergies. It's about recognizing that when we combine our unique strengths and perspectives, we can create something truly extraordinary.
They give the example of Walt Disney.
Exactly. When television emerged, many in the film industry saw it as a threat. But Disney saw the potential synergy.
And it changed everything. He wasn't afraid to innovate and leverage this new technology.
Right. This principle of synergy can be applied to all areas of our lives,
Yeah.
whether it's collaborating with colleagues on a work project
Hmm.
or partnering with friends to achieve a shared goal. We can accomplish so much more when we work together.
It reminds me of that African proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Beautifully put, it perfectly encapsulates the essence of we are connected.
This has been amazing. Okay, so we've explored everything is possible,
Right.
embraced passion first,
Yeah.
and tapped into the power of we are connected. What's next on our journey toward unlocking our ultimate life?
Now it's time to explore a concept that often gets a bad rap: accountability.
Ooh, that one can be a little tough to swallow.
Hmm.
Most people associate accountability with like blame or punishment.
Yeah,
For sure. It's like, whose fault is it anyway when things go wrong?
I hear you. It's easy to fall into that blame game trap,
Right.
but Schickler and Waller frame accountability in a really empowering way.
Okay.
They call it 100% accountable.
So what's the difference? What does 100% accountable actually look like?
It's about recognizing that while we can't always control what happens to us, we always have the power to choose how we respond.
That reminds me of the Serenity Prayer. Accepting the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Exactly. It's about focusing on what we can influence,
Right.
which is our attitude and our actions.
They tell a great story about Magic Johnson, right?
Yeah,
One of the greatest basketball players of all time.
that's the one. In a crucial game, seconds on the clock, he passes the ball to a rookie teammate who fumbles it, costing them the game.
Ouch. As a sports fan, that one's gotta hurt. I can only imagine the pressure that rookie was feeling.
Right. Most players would blame the rookie,
Yeah.
but not Magic. He took full responsibility, saying, any pass I make that's not caught is a bad pass.
Wow. Talk about taking ownership. He could have easily played the victim, but instead he chose to learn from it.
Exactly. That's the essence of this mindset. It's about shifting from, why is this happening to me, to, what can I learn from this?
Okay, that's a serious perspective shift. But how do we actually make that shift? How do we cultivate that 100% accountable mindset?
They offer some really practical steps.
Okay.
First, just like with the everything is possible mindset, start by taking stock of where you are without judgment.
So no beating ourselves up for past mistakes or dwelling on shoulda, woulda, couldas.
Right. Then comes the courageous part,
Oh.
overcoming our fears.
Oh, tell me about it. I can't even count how many times fear has held me back from going after what I truly want.
They talk about how inaction often has far worse consequences than failure ever could. It's like that saying, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
That's so true. It's better to try and fail than to never try at all.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Next comes removing limiting beliefs. You know, those excuses we tell ourselves,
Mm.
like I don't have enough time.
Ugh, yes. I am the queen of I don't have enough time.
But often what we really mean is, I haven't prioritized this.
Oh, that's good.
It's about recognizing those self-imposed limitations
Right.
and finding ways to reframe them.
Okay, so we're acknowledging our reality, facing our fears, ditching the excuses. What's next?
Next is taking ownership of our results. And they share an incredible story about John Wooden, the legendary UCLA basketball coach,
The one with all the championship.
the very same. After a rare loss, his players were pointing fingers, blaming each other. But Wooden stepped up and said, I was outcoached today.
Wow. That's a true leader right there.
Then he challenged each player to identify what they could have done differently to change the outcome.
Wow.
He turned a blame fest into a learning opportunity.
And they won the championship that year. It's amazing how powerful it can be to simply take ownership, even when it's hard.
It's about focusing on what you can control. Schickler and Waller lay it out like this: events plus response outcome.
Okay.
You can't always control the events, but you always control your response.
I'm going to write that one down. Events plus response outcome. So good. But it's not always easy to maintain that kind of accountability.
Yeah.
What are some practical tips for making it a habit?
They suggest measuring your progress, both internally and externally.
Okay.
Celebrate those small milestones along the way.
So it's not just about the big wins, it's about acknowledging those little victories that keep you motivated.
They also encourage what they call radical self-interest. It's about being really clear about your values, your goals, what truly matters to you.
So it's about tuning into what you need to feel fulfilled and aligned in life.
Exactly. And finally, they encourage cultivating a sense of inner freedom, what they call freedom from bondage.
Freedom from bondage. That sounds pretty intense.
They're talking about those mental and emotional chains that hold us back: self-doubt, limiting beliefs, societal expectations that don't align with our truth. True freedom comes from recognizing that we have the power to choose how we think, feel, and act, regardless of external circumstances.
Oh, when you put it that way, it's incredibly powerful. Okay, so we've talked about embracing possibility, leading with passion, the power of connection, and now stepping into 100% accountability. What's the next mindset that can help us unlock our ultimate life?
It's a mindset with incredible benefits for our well-being. Attitude of gratitude.
Oh, I love this one. It's so easy to get caught up in the hustle and forget to appreciate the good things we already have.
They highlight research showing that practicing gratitude can actually increase your lifespan
Wait, really? Being thankful helps you live longer. How much are we talking here?
up to 7 years.
No way. That's incredible. It's like finding the fountain of youth just by shifting your perspective.
And it's not just about quantity, it's about quality of life. Gratitude boosts happiness, reduces stress, increases energy. It's a game changer.
Okay, sign me up. But how do we actually cultivate an attitude of gratitude in a way that feels authentic? I'm not talking about like slapping on some fake positivity. I want the real deal.
They offer some really simple but powerful techniques. One is keeping a gratitude journal. Each day, take a few moments to jot down things you're grateful for.
I've actually tried that before, and it's amazing how quickly your perspective can shift.
Right. They also suggest expressing gratitude to others, whether it's a heartfelt thank you to a coworker or telling your partner how much you appreciate them. Those small acts of appreciation go a long way.
It's like that saying, what you appreciate, appreciate.
Exactly. They also talk about what they call inverse paranoia.
Okay.
Instead of focusing on the negative, you actively look for the good in every situation.
So it's about choosing to see the glass half full, even when it feels like it's shattered into a million pieces.
They share a story about Tony Robbins, who had a really difficult childhood.
Right.
But years later, he reframed those experiences, seeing how they shaped him and led him to where he is today.
Wow, that's powerful. Turning those painful memories into fuel for growth. But they go even further, right? They suggest practicing gratitude for the challenges themselves.
Exactly. Now, I know that might sound crazy. It's like, how can we be grateful for the tough stuff?
Right.
But they argue it's often through those challenges that we grow the most. When we choose to respond with gratitude, even when it's hard, we set a powerful cycle in motion.
It's about finding those silver linings, even when the storm clouds seem overwhelming.
They offer one final piece of advice, seeing both sides of the coin. It's about remembering that everyone has their own unique perspective. When we can do that, we avoid unnecessary conflict and cultivate more compassion.
It's a good reminder that there's often more than one right answer. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here. Responsibility, gratitude. What's the next mindset on our list?
It's a mindset that shifts our focus outward. Live to give.
Now, this is a mindset I can get behind. I truly believe that we get back what we give out into the world.
They argue that true fulfillment comes from making a positive impact on others.
They talk about this idea of like giving before you get.
Yeah, exactly. And they emphasize it doesn't have to be financial. It could be sharing your time, your talents, even just kind words of encouragement.
It reminds me of that quote, a candle loses nothing by lighting another candle.
They share some really inspiring examples like Blake Mycoskie, the founder of Thomas S. Shoes.
Right.
He built his company on a model of giving back.
And it's not just about charity, it's baked into their business model. It shows that you can be successful and make a difference.
Exactly. Another example is Harris Rosen, a hotelier who provides free preschool and college scholarships to kids in his community. It shows how even small acts of kindness can have a ripple effect.
Okay, so we're feeling inspired, but how do we actually put this live to give mindset into practice?
They suggest starting by sharing your unique genius with the world. Think about what you're good at, what lights you up, and find ways to use those gifts to make a difference.
So it's about identifying our unique contributions and sharing them generously.
Exactly. They also remind us to be on the lookout for ways to serve others, whether it's volunteering, mentoring, or simply being a kind and compassionate presence. It's about recognizing we're all part of something bigger than ourselves.
Wow, that's powerful. Okay, so we've explored 6 of the 7 mindsets. Everything is possible. Passion first, we are connected, 100% accountable, attitude of gratitude, and live to give. What is the final mindset, the one that ties it all together?
It's the mindset of action. The time is now.
I think this is something we all struggle with sometimes, right? Procrastination, overthinking, waiting for the perfect moment.
It's so easy to get stuck in that cycle. But this mindset challenges us to break free.
Because if not now, when?
Exactly. They share a quote by Teddy Roosevelt that perfectly captures this spirit. It is not the critic who counts. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly.
I love that. It's about embracing action over inaction, even if it means, like, risking failure.
They tell the story of Fred DeLuca, who started Subway. He faced tons of challenges early on. His first store didn't even make a profit.
Wait, seriously, the guy who started Subway almost went bankrupt with his fresh shop.
Yep, he was tempted to give up, but he persevered. He kept opening new stores, kept learning, and the rest is history.
Talk about a testament to the power of persistence. So it's about trusting the process and taking those consistent steps, even when we can't see the entire path ahead. What practical advice do they offer for embracing this the time is now mindset?
They talk about the importance of appreciating the present moment. It's easy to get caught up in planning for the future or dwelling on the past, but the present moment is all we truly have.
So it's about like savoring those small everyday moments.
Exactly. They also emphasize that every action matters. They call it the butterfly effect, the idea that even small actions can have a ripple effect far beyond what we can imagine.
So our actions have the potential to create positive change, even in ways we might never realize.
Precisely. And finally, they encourage us to find our flow state, that place where we're fully immersed in what we're doing, time seems to disappear, and we're performing at our best.
For me, that's when I'm writing. I can lose hours completely absorbed in the process, but how do we like access that flow state more often?
They suggest aligning your actions with your passions and purpose. When you're doing work that you love and that feels meaningful, getting in the zone becomes almost effortless. They also highlight the importance of being a continuous learner.
That resonates with me. It's like they say, mistakes are proof that you're trying.
Exactly. It's about embracing a growth mindset, approaching life with curiosity, and a willingness to learn from every experience.
So it's not about avoiding failure. It's about embracing it as a stepping stone on the path to success.
They also encourage acting on purpose, aligning your actions with your values and goals. They share a powerful story about Beck Weathers, a climber who almost died on Mount Everest.
Oh, wow. I remember reading about that expedition. It was incredibly harrowing.
He was caught in a blizzard, lost his eyesight, and was left for dead.
Right.
But he had this vision of his wife and children, and that vision gave him the strength to get up and keep going.
What an incredible testament to the power of the human spirit. But how does that tie into the time is now?
It highlights how purpose can fuel our actions, even in the face of unimaginable adversity. When we're clear about what matters most to us, we're more likely to take action, even when it's hard.
Okay, I'm starting to see how all of these mindsets kind of weave together. It's not enough to simply like dream big. We need to ground those dreams in action and align those actions with our values. But taking action can feel so overwhelming sometimes. Where do we even start?
Schickler and Waller emphasize the importance of small steps. You don't have to do everything at once. Focus on one small action you can take today that moves you closer to where you want to be.
It's about building momentum, right? One step at a time.
They wrap up this mindset with a quote that really captures its essence. Do all the good you can, by all the means you can, and all the ways you can, in all the places you can, at all the times you can, to all the people you can, as long as ever you can.
Wow, that is powerful. It's a reminder that we have the power to make a difference in the world, starting right here, right now. Okay, so we've explored all 7 mindsets. It's amazing how they build upon each other, creating this incredible framework for living a truly extraordinary life.
They do. Each mindset is like a key, and when you use them together, they unlock the door to your ultimate life.
Speaking of unlocking that door, their last chapter is all about making these mindsets stick. I love that they don't just leave us hanging with all this great information. They give us practical strategies for actually implementing it in our lives.
Exactly. And they begin by reminding us about the importance of radical self-interest. Why do these mindsets matter to you? How would your life be different if you fully embraced them?
It's about getting crystal clear about your personal motivation, what's driving you, what's at stake if you don't make these changes.
And they reiterate the importance of community, what they call the power of the pack.
Because we weren't meant to do this alone, right?
Exactly. Find your people, those who are also committed to personal growth and who will support you along the way.
Whether it's a mindset buddy or an ultimate life club, it's about creating that support system that will cheer you on and hold you accountable. So we've got our why, we've got our people. What else can help us stay on track?
They emphasize measuring the milestones. It's about breaking down big goals into smaller, more manageable steps and celebrating those wins along the way.
Because success breeds success, right? Those small wins fuel our motivation and keep us moving forward.
They also encourage us to find ways to integrate these mindsets into our daily routines, whether it's through visualization, affirmations, gratitude exercises, or acts of kindness. It's about finding what resonates with you and weaving it into the fabric of your life.
It's about making these mindsets a habit, not just like a one-time event.
Exactly. They also remind us that change is a process.
Right.
It's not always easy, and there will be setbacks, but it's about progress, not perfection.
It's about embracing the journey, knowing that even those detours and roadblocks can lead to unexpected